I'm Gillian, and today it's just me. Michelle isn't with us today, but we're with someone that I have known from a past life, and so it feels right. And it's just a pleasure to sit down with someone who is such an empathetic leader and probably better than anyone I know at reading the room. It's her job. Lindsey Comeau has held nearly every role you can imagine at a startup, from customer experience to marketing, influencer partnerships, user research. Now she's chief of staff at Sunday. It's a direct-to-consumer brand that has incredible values around protecting the environment and avoiding toxic chemicals when it comes to caring for your lawn. Full disclosure, I was one of the early employees there when they launched, and that's how Lindsey and I know each other. Her true value is very clear. She understands how people communicate and how they need to show up, whether it's a frustrated customer they're working with, resolving conflict with, a teammate, or a founder who needs a mirror. Lindsey has made a career out of helping people get unstuck through better, more human connection. This conversation is about navigating growth, scaling teams, and leading with emotional intelligence. Let's get into it. Lindsey, hi.
Hi.
Hi, so
Gillian.
happy to have you here. Long time no see.
I'm happy to be here. I know it's been a minute. I'm very glad to see your face again.
Lindsey and I had the pleasure of working together in a very early stage startup world with a consumer product, a direct-to-consumer product with a heavy tech component and physical component. And so I'll stop being mysterious and I'll let Lindsey quickly explain kind of who she works for, what you all do, and we can get started.
Yeah, that sounds great. And fun fact, Gillian interviewed me for this job and talked our bosses into hiring me. So thanks, Gillian.
Yeah.
But
easy decision.
I work for Sunday. It's a non-toxic yard care brand. It was started about 6 years ago by two brothers, Coulter and Trent. They were looking for a better way to take care of their outdoor home and couldn't find what they were looking for. So they went out and made it. We make custom solution and products effective and safe for your house. What that means is we make better products like fertilizers, weed control, grass seed. We are also in the pest and garden space as well. But we deliver it right to your door, and we can also be purchased in retailers as well.
Amazing. And your role with Sunday is, wait for it.
I'm a chief of staff at Sunday.
It's just always my favorite job title. It's so powerful. Yet, I don't know if everyone knows what you do. And one thing I've learned is that it's almost seemingly becomes a role that is quite custom to the environment that you're in and the people that you're working for and the needs at hand.
100%.
So yeah. And we'll unpack that a little bit more. I guess one thing I do want to ask you, like, what do people say to you when you say that you're a chief of staff, like in a social environment? Do they know what you do?
No, everyone's like, oh, what do you do? That's always like the first thing. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Cause I think they hear chief. I am not a C-level employee. I am a chief of staff, but I sit alongside the executive team to facilitate those meetings. And I am behind the scenes, if you will. But the way I like short explain is I help with internal operations and I fill the gaps of what the company needs. And a chief of staff, the title right now is it's super sexy, if you will. Like I went to a conference recently, and anyone who saw my title had so many questions for me because it's definitely a up and coming title. That people really are, whether they're wanting to hire for it or they're wanting to take on that role themselves. They just have a lot of questions. But it really comes down to what the company needs and who you call it your principal. It's really contingent on that partnership and what they need and who you're working for. And that's kind of really how the role evolves from there.
So even the principal concept, did you learn that from somebody? Did you do a course? Did you look it up online? Did AI tell you?
I joined a few networks. So when Jay, our VP of Ops, Jay Valesco, kind of helped me formulate this job description. He was like, join everything you can. Here's some of the ones that I found. I joined a network called Chief of Staff Network. And I would sit in on webinars. They do a lot of sharing of documentation, a lot of Q&As. And I just kept seeing this word principal, can't even talk, this word principal. And I was like, what is everyone talking about, like a principal? I was thinking like a teacher principal. But that is what they call their bosses. They call them a principal. So I don't
That's
know
really
why.
interesting.
But I
Okay.
call culture my boss.
Well, it's just a great example of just rolling up your sleeves and stepping into the unknown and figuring out what it is you're doing.
All day, every day. And
All
like
day,
you
every
said,
day.
whether it's a network, a colleague, AI, Google, I'm constantly in research mode to figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, you always gotta be. You always gotta be. Are you a Chat GPT gal?
I am a huge ChatGPT gal, both personally and professionally. Our
Amazing.
latest life hack in this household is we have
Meal
decision
planning?
fatigue. Meal plan, not even like meal plan. Like it's like 4 o'clock. We're like, what are we going to feed the kids? We put in the ingredients that we have, and bam, ChatGPT
I'm
gives it to
just
us.
impressed that you don't just feed your kids mac and cheese, grilled cheese, and pizza.
You just listed their entire
Okay,
menu
okay, cool. All
items.
right,
That was really more
great.
for what are we going to feed ourselves.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
try to get my 4-year-old to eat what we're eating, but
it's hard.
choosing my battles.
Yep, definitely. Okay, let's take a step back. Obviously, we have another incredible working mom here on the pod. Michelle couldn't join us today, so kids might come up, but that's just part of our life
Let's
and
talk
the
kids.
struggle and the juggle that we are dealing with in our careers. But speaking of careers, you've had a non-linear career path, so I'd love to just talk about how you got from where you began, which I believe was on a dude ranch, to this really fancy title, chief of staff.
Yeah. So yes, after college, I was like, why would I go get a big kid job when I can go play with horses all day? So I worked on a guest ranch for about 3 years. And then I was kind of like, okay, it's probably time to grow up, moved to Denver. I was lucky enough to get a marketing internship at a company called Artifact Uprising. Very quickly, I learned that marketing was not my passion. And at the time, a customer service role, a full time customer service role, came open. And that was very much more my speed. I'd done customer service, certain forms of customer service in all the jobs that I had had before. So moved over there, and I was very eager and very curious and was able to really rise in the ranks at Artifact and wound up running the customer service team. And then at the end, I was able to launch a new business line for them, design services. So I owned a P&L, hired a contract team, and we tested it, and it was successful. And they still do it today, which is really cool. That was about the end of my 4 years, and I was looking for something else. I wanted, kind of a different experience, a little bit of mentorship. And right around that time, again, Jay Valesco slid into my LinkedIn DMs and was like, hey, we have this role. Would you be interested? And it was a perfect match. Gillian wooed me with her charm. Um,
I tried really hard.
and I came in, ran the customer service team. There was a full customer service team there at the time, but I put in process. And luckily, I had somebody on the team who was really eager to rise in ranks. So I really put in a lot of time and effort into coaching her into becoming a manager and an owner of customer service. Because at the time, I didn't really know if I wanted to keep going down in customer service. But it also allowed me some freedom to start kind of tapping into other places in the business at Sunday where they needed help. So I did everything from email marketing, product, user research, back to a focus on Sunday as a subscription business. So we do renewals. And so I touched a little bit of everything. I had worked with everybody at this time, and I worked really closely with the executive team at the time to say, hey, I see a need where I can really see kind of where challenges are arising. I'm naturally already fixing some of these challenges, whether it be process or people oriented. and was able to kind of craft a role for myself and fill a need for the company. And it worked out.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. It was clearly the right time for
Mm.
Sunday to invest in a resource like you. So I'm curious, you started as the for context, you started as the 12th employee at Sunday. How many team members do you think there were by the time you brought that up?
There were about 100 people. We had closed our Series C in funding. Um, in terms of the executive team, it was a large executive team at the time, and probably too large, but there were about 8 to 9 people on it. Um, Sunday has also been exposed to the elements, if you will, and we've had to do layoffs in the past. So our team is
Mhm.
smaller now. We have 70 people with a 5-person executive team.
Mhm.
Um, but we grew really quickly after our Series C. And we almost made the mistake of growing too fast without having a clear plan, which, startups do. And so it did allow me to kind of jump into that space to kind of help facilitate some of the breakdowns in different parts of the organization.
That's awesome. Curious, what did you learn in your role within customer service that still shapes how you show up today? And I'm curious because there's two roles that I are not desirable to me because they just seem stressful and scary. And one is customer service, leading customer service, and one is leading operations for a tangible product. But the reason leading customer service teams is intimidating is because there's just so many personalities, there's so many balls in the air, there's a lot of fires getting put out, especially when you're dealing with a consumer product that's being marketed heavily. I just want to hear from you, like, what did you learn in that role in multiple companies now that is shows up every day for you?
Yeah. So, the reality is when someone calls into customer service, they're usually calling because something is wrong. I have been yelled at a ton in my career, whether that is by a customer or by an employee. I don't think I've ever been yelled at by a manager, so that's good. But I've been yelled at a lot, but I quickly learned like it wasn't about me. It was about whether it was the thing that went wrong or something else that's going wrong in their life. But it really taught me empathy, and it taught me seeking to understand. And if I could understand truly what the problem was, then I could really make sure I was solving the right problem for them. And I think that is kind of a foundation of what I try to do now. A lot of my role, which has kind of happened organically, is helping people communicate, helping people have challenging conversations, helping solve conflict. And the core of that is understanding where the other person is coming from. And customer service really set that foundation for me. Um, and I don't think I realized it at the time, but that's my jam. Like I like solving problems for people, whether it's a fire on the product side and we all get
Yeah.
into a war room and solve this problem, or I
Yeah.
get to make somebody's day because I fixed their problem. Like that's a happy endorphin for me. I really enjoy that.
That's awesome. And I mean, one thing you haven't admitted is you you are clearly a very good listener because that's probably a huge part of your job and that's obviously a huge part of customer service, right? Is listening and responding literally. So I'm curious if you are helping people figure out how to communicate, do you find yourself having to teach people to be better listeners? And if so, what does that look like? How would you guide them?
Yeah. So, when I go to kind of coach somebody on that when they're having a challenge, I really start with just asking them a ton of questions about themselves. What are you trying to solve? What are your frustrations in the room? Why do you feel like you're not being effective? And they usually make it about the other person. I say, no, no, no. Let's
Mhm.
focus on you. Um, and then we make it about the other person. And a lot of what I do and something I'm really passionate about is I like solving people's tells. I like cracking the code on people. And so when I think I've cracked the code on somebody, I don't know if I always get it right. I try to coach that person on it. It's like, watch how they enter the room, watch their mannerisms, watch the vocabulary, watch the tone.
Mhm.
And I try to educate them on observing. So it's not necessarily just about listening, it's truly being an observer to how people show up and what they say. I do work with some folks on our executive team, and I also work with just employees across the business. Um, because I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of people in the company, I've built this relationship and this rapport with them. Um, and so they'll come to me with different challenges, or they've said like, "Hey, Lindsey, I want to work on this thing," and I'm almost their accountability partner. Whether it's they're having a tough go with a counterpart or an employee, and we really work through that together.
What does that look like? Is it anybody on the team, any level can come to
Mhm.
you with something like that? And how are they coming to you? Like, is it a Slack message?
It's a Slack message that says like, "Hey, I'd really love to grab 5 minutes with you, 10 minutes with you." They're usually like, "I'd love to get your thoughts on something." I set the stage very early with anybody that I work with, any stand up that I have. I always say, I'm an open door. My calendar is open to you. You don't even have to ask. Just put time on my calendar and let's chat. And at Sunday we also do like coffee chats still. I ask a lot of clarifying questions, again, back to going to that seek to understand element, understanding what they're trying to solve and who the other person in the room is that they're trying to solve it with. I try to bring my intel of saying, like, hey, sometimes it helps with real people. We'll talk, Gillian, you're having a problem with your friend Luke here. And, you're trying to work on this project together, and you and Luke just have such differing opinions. I'll come in and I'll say, Gillian, like, what are you trying to get across? Like, what at the end goal, what does success look like for you? Okay, why do you think you're having troubles with Luke? Where is Luke falling short on this? And we really break it down. I was like, when I worked with Luke in the past, I know that these are the three things he really cares about. And I know that if I, put him on the defense, he shuts down. So let's make sure we're not using language that puts him on the defense. Let's really critique how we're showing up, how we're presenting something based on what we know about the other person. And I really try to help them figure out how do they adjust what they're saying and how they're saying it based on the person they're presenting it to. And then at the end of it, I say, let's practice. Like, whether you want to practice with me, you want to practice in the shower, practice hard conversations. And then lastly, because I know I'm long-winded, be vulnerable in these conversations too. Maybe you say something in that meeting and you're like, oh, that's not how I wanted to say it. You say, oh, Luke, shit, that's not how I wanted to come off. Let me try that again. Like, call yourself out in the meeting, be vulnerable, because it shows that you care. And when you show up in a caring way, people are going to put their guard down and be like, okay, they're not trying to be an asshole. They're just trying to like figure this out. And like, we both are here to, achieve the similar goal and help the company win, really.
Okay,
That was
Lindsay.
a lot. Sorry.
No, I love this. You have major job security right now, I feel like. This is such important work that you're doing. It's the glue that holds things together. I mean, there's no denying it doesn't matter if Sunday's been around for 6 years or 5 years, I don't remember.
6.
6, okay, that's what I thought. And that it has 70 employees now. It's a VC-backed, like, consumer good product, probably dealing with a lot of stress and a lot of personalities. So I can see where, your value is needed here, and it's really interesting to see you peel back the curtain for people, creating just perspective on how they're showing up. I'm managing a lot of people over here with my role, and I do put a lot of pride in putting my best foot forward as a manager, but there's just not enough time to show up on that level as like a director level manager. So I just hope that anyone listening who's maybe building organizations and considering chief of staff role really can understand the void that you fill.
And managing people's a lot. And they always say like, manage people the way you want to be managed. I disagree with that so wholeheartedly because
Yeah.
you need to manage people the way that is going to bring the best out in them. And so like, you have to manage people to meet their needs, which if you're managing 8 people, that's a ton. That's a ton of personalities to have to get right and understand and level up and level out. And,
Yeah.
managers
No,
have their work cut out for them right now.
they do, they do. I like what you said. I come from a very similar school of thought. I think it came from working with designers, especially at an agency where under very high pressure circumstances, quick deadlines, very high creative expectations. And it was knowing my designers inside and out, like down to like what their communication style is, what they love, what they hate, their quirks, their sensitivities was my absolute superpower to getting the work done.
Yeah.
And so I so hear you on that. I love that tactic. I don't think enough people take that and run with it. But
Because it's
I
hard. It's hard and it's
it takes
exhausting.
time. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to. I know, like what you said hits for me because no one-on-one with a report is the same.
Mhm.
Because you should be meeting them where they need to be met. Some people need to walk and talk. Some people want to sit down and see your face. And if they're not getting FaceTime with you, that's not a good morale booster. Clearly, this is one of your superpowers, like reading the room and getting to know these people. How are you getting to know these people? Somebody starts at the company, and it's somebody that you really do need to figure out to put them to work, to put them in the mix.
If I'm a part of an interview panel, it starts there. One of my favorite questions that I will ask is, how do you handle high stress? Like, what's your tell when you are in a stressful situation? I'm very curious how people show up in that way, because I think in any company, but especially a startup with a lot of trade-offs, stress is a part of what we do. But I do try to get to know our new employees. I have, sometimes it's hard for me for every single new employee, but I try to at least introduce myself, say that I'm
Mhm,
here if they need anything. We do coffee chats at Sunday. So I get to know them on a personal level. Like,
mhm.
that's like number one. And that's hard in a virtual world. Like, let me be the one to tell you, water cooler talk. Like, I miss it. But I try so that I can always have this like connection with them. Um, but then, um, because of my role, I do get to be in a lot of different meetings. Um, and that's where I observe. I observe like who has their camera on, who doesn't, who's constantly raising their hand, who's constantly asking certain types of questions. Um, what, who's actually engaged, who's, maybe obviously doing work in the background. And then especially if I know it's going to be a tense meeting, that's when I really like perk my ears up and I watch the room. Depending on the role that I'm playing in the meeting, I'll try to help facilitate that. I know someone has an opinion, or I know that someone's going to be frustrated or not. Um, I'll stop and be like, Gillian, I know you had some thoughts here. Why don't you share what you were thinking? And then I try to garner alignment. Like, okay, this is what I heard Gillian say. Is everyone on the same page of X, Y, and Z thing? Okay, here are next steps. So I try to play a role of facilitation as well when I know there's going to be tough conversations based on who's going to be in that meeting and what I know about them. But I try to put myself in as many rooms as possible. That's like how I do it. I try to put myself in there and then I observe.
Do you get fatigued from this level of involvement, like working so closely with people?
No, my fatigue comes when I feel like I'm being ineffective. Um, if I'm working on the same problem with somebody and I can only control myself. I can't control somebody else. And if somebody has come to me for help or advice and change isn't happening, um, that's where I get fatigued. I feel like I'm like spinning my wheels. And then it makes, well, I'm not being effective. How do I change what I do to help them? Um, I'm going through a little bit of that right now at work, and it's been, you know, it's been tough.
Yeah,
That's
that's
where I
hard.
get. I like the people side. I do. We have a full time. Like, everybody comes to Boulder once a year for our all company event. And like, I tell myself, like, I'm the chief of staff. Like, I have to know everybody and shake hands with everybody. So I feel like I'm at a wedding every time. And I like truly make a point to say hi to every single person, shake their hand. I'm glad you've come. That is it. By the last day, like, everyone always goes out late. I want to go out late, but I'm so tired by the end of it.
No.
But that the like in person people can wear me down. but I try.
Okay. Are you a introvert and extrovert
I would say
combo?
I'm an extroverted
Okay.
introvert because I
Yeah.
get my energy by reading my book in my bed with no one
Yeah.
around me
Fair enough.
or my trashy shows. But other than that,
Yeah.
no, I like people.
Do you watch Real Housewives like me?
I wish I'm a Kardashian.
Oh, me
I
too.
wish I
I'm Kardashian for
yeah.
sure.
And
And
like
Love
Secret
Island.
Lives of I didn't get on Love Island. I have trouble with love shows. I'm a people connection person. Those are not real connections. I can't.
Yes. Okay, that's actually really true. And but I did yes to or Mormon Wives.
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, can't get enough.
So
Let's do
good. So good.
it.
I think you've done a really good job of kind of orienting us in terms of what a chief of staff does at a company like Sunday. I'm curious if from where you sit, you could tell us how you've seen, especially in your network of chief of staffs, other people in these roles and conversations you've had. What are ways that other companies might benefit from a role, having someone in that chief of staff role?
So I think what I've seen, whether it's looking at different job descriptions that are out there or talking to folks who are eager to get into a chief of staff role, um, I think what's neat about a chief of staff role is that you can really play to your strengths. So there are folks who are business strategists sitting in the finance org and creating P&Ls and new lines of business and running data analytics. Like there are those that exist. There are folks who sit on the people side. So, I don't report into HR, but if I was at a bigger business, I'd probably sit more in like a people org. And you could help with the coaching side, org structure, helping managers level up and be managers. And then they tend to play a strategy part and be kind of that second person to the CEO. Those are like the two biggest versions of one that I've seen. I said it earlier, but it really does come down to like, who is your principal? Who is your boss? What do they need? What do they see as what the company needs? How they're going to, be setting you up for success, and what that personality is. Because I saw a talk once, and the CEO and a founder of a company came in with his chief of staff, and this man was doing everything from responding to his emails to literally launching and running a complete net new business. Like that was the gambit of all this, of the responsibilities of this chief of staff. That's very similar to what I do. You know, I respond to Coulter's emails. I am his admin. I'm his EA, but I also oversaw retention and renewals this year at the company and had KPI metrics that I was in charge of, and I ran a cross-functional team. But I think as a chief of staff, really understanding what you're willing to do and what you want to do, and finding a company that fits your needs. And then on top of that, finding a principal, if you will, that is looking for that sort of thing.
Where has AI come into your world and your life, especially because you're watching how others are probably using it too? So I'm curious, what's your perspective on integrating it into workflows and leveraging it?
So we didn't really touch on this, but Sunday as a business is leaning into AI. We have created a Yard AI partner. It's kind of a companion in your pocket, if you will. We feed from ChatGPT, but it is like our data, our information, our brand voice. So you can upload a photo of your lawn, and Sunny can tell you what's wrong with it and how to take care of it. So we are really leaning hard into
Wow.
AI as a business. But culturally, we are also really leaning into AI. We have given all of our employees a stipend to use monthly to use an AI of their choice. And we're really encouraging them to share what they are doing so that, AI makes us more efficient and it makes us more effective. And so while we don't believe that AI will completely replace everybody, we do want to utilize it so that it makes us better at our jobs. When we started encouraging people to use it and share, some of the things that I heard that I was really surprised with was they were using ChatGPT to help them have hard conversations, whether it was a peer or a manager who was having to put somebody on a PIP, or, I know Gillian is defensive about this topic. I want to send her a direct Slack message that comes off nicely, but blah, and they use it to like help them create conversation, which I wasn't expecting that at all, but I really like that they are using this tool to help them have better conversations because it means they care and they're trying to fix their problems with it.
Oh my gosh, that's so great.
I think the downside that I've seen a little bit is a trend that I have noticed at Sunday is we don't collaborate the same way. We're using AI to collaborate and be that thought partner and help us solve a problem and then presenting that problem to the team versus everyone coming together in a room and collaborating on solving a problem together. We do brainstorms, we do retros, but collaboration looks different. And I think there's a couple of AI is a part of that. COVID and remote world is a part of that. It's a muscle I think we've all lost. You know, you don't get to get in a room and whiteboard the same way anymore.
Yeah.
So that's something I've been thinking about of how to really encourage true collaboration and what does a framework for that look like and how do we encourage it back at Sunday.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool. I love the stipend for AI tools.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting because people in different stages of life who are exposed to different, communities are gonna just discover so many different use cases, and I just think there's so much to learn.
I can't take credit for that. Our VP of engineering had that idea, and I love that he had it. But we even had an engineer who was in the process of buying a house, and he used AI to like help him negotiate a price down. You know, like I've used it for like car searching. I've done it for. I went to go buy like a Thule box, and I was like, compare this pricing. Like, what kind of discount am I getting? What's it on the market for secondhand? How is this as a brand? And I did that all at ChatGPT right there. Like Google would have tripled my time because I have to
Yeah.
click on it, individual links
Tabs.
and
Yeah.
read. Like this was just bam right there. So if we can do that in work, I use it. I do user research at the company. I use it to help me create usability scripts for customer interviews. I use it to help create documentation just for a tech stack that we're working on. Or I've tried to use it to help me create a slide deck. Didn't go exactly
Mhm.
the way I wanted it to. So it
Yeah.
takes effort
Yeah.
to do it, but it helps. It
That's
helps.
awesome. Okay, so I want to kind of wrap things up by asking some advice. We like to speak to the doers and the leaders. So the doers are the folks that are holding up the leaders and in the nitty-gritty and the grind. It's clear where you sit on the org chart. Managing up is probably something that you've honed in on quite a bit. And I think it is such a powerful skill to tap into early on. What advice would you give to people early on in their careers about managing up?
Managing up really starts with building a good line of communication with your manager. Um, I think having that sort of questioning of, hey, manager, if I have feedback for you, how would you like to receive that? Would you like it written? Do you prefer it to be, in person? You know, do you want to talk about it right then? Should I tell you the questions they ask you, you should also be asking them. Be vulnerable. Say like, hey, I'm a little nervous to say this, but I'm really trying to, I want to have a really good rapport with you. Um, if something's not working for me, how can I deliver that to you? Ask them how they want it. Don't just assume. And that's a scary thing. Don't get me wrong, but I think I really pride myself on being direct. I really gotten a reputation of that at Sunday. But I have worked really hard on that, and they know that when I speak and I'm being direct, that I'm being honest. So putting in the foundation of clear communication lines is is the best thing that you can do.
For founders or execs, when does one know that it's time to consider hiring someone in a chief of staff position? What are the signs?
I think the signs would be you feel that your executive team has become ineffective. And what I mean by that is like it's not just one individual, like as a whole, they're not collaborating, they're not making decisions, no one's moving things forward, I think is one clear sign. Um, I would also say that there might be a couple of holes that need to be plugged. Maybe it's EA, maybe it's I have this business over here that I want. It's special projects. You have this laundry list of special projects. You have the resources financially to get those special projects off the ground, but there's not one person who has the capacity to do that. I think that is where a chief of staff can really come in and help.
That's awesome. Amazing. Okay, last question. What is something our listeners can do this week to better navigate conflict or misalignment?
Practice, practice, practice your
Love
hard
that.
conversations. Whether you have a sparring partner at work or you have somebody who ChatGPT can be your person. But if it's a counterpart at work, I use the 80-20 rule. You get 20% to vent, 80% to be productive. But tell them like, hey, I want to change how we've been showing up and I want you to help me have this hard conversation. Like, I'm done bitching about it to you. I want to solve the problem. Go solve the problem together and use that person to like practice your hard conversation.
That's advice that needs to be given. People aren't like, I want to practice more. You really have to be told.
You have to be told. But it's hard. But like, I practiced for this podcast. Like,
That's
like I
great. Yeah.
told my husband, I was like, you need to go away because I have this thing that I'm practicing for. Like, and I think practicing just shows that you care. Like, you want to show up, you want to be confident. I want to solve this problem and I want to solve it with you. So
Yeah. Ugh, amazing, Lindsay. You're definitely inspiring. This was so fun. And no, Sunday's really lucky to have you. That
thank you.
team, the team's really lucky to have you. And I feel lucky to have been a part of the journey with you in the way beginning.
Yeah, no, I'm grateful. Thank you for asking me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for being here.